The planet Varketh. 9 was unforgiving, a harsh world of jagged cliffs, perpetual storms, and skies painted in violent hues of red and gold. It was here, on a training ground notorious for testing the galaxy's finest warriors, that I first saw her. Her name was Selyra, an alien woman from the warrior caste of the Varathi, a species feared for their combat prowess and prideful traditions. But even among her own people, Selyra was treated differently. A long scar ran across her cheek, a remnant from a mission gone awry during her early training. To most Varathi, scars were marks of honor, but hers carried an aura of misfortune, and they treated her with suspicion and disdain. As I arrived on Varketh, 9 as part of a human reconnaissance and combat delegation, I was prepared for hostility. Humans were considered outsiders, weak, and barely competent in alien military traditions. I expected stares, maybe some whispers, but I did not expect to be caught in the orbit of someone who was more ostracized than I could imagine. Selyra stood alone at the edge of the arena, her violet eyes scanning the horizon as lightning split the skies. Her armor bore the dents and scratches of countless battles, yet she moved with a grace that even the most disciplined cadets struggled to match. The other Varathi avoided her entirely. I watched as groups passed her by, some snickering, others openly mocking her. And yet, she remained silent, composed, unbroken. Curiosity drew me forward. I had always admired resilience, the quiet kind that did not seek attention. I approached cautiously, aware that any wrong move might provoke hostility. "You fight well," I said, keeping my tone neutral but sincere. "Better than most people here." She turned sharply, startled, her hand instinctively moving toward the weapon at her hip. When she saw me, a human, her expression softened slightly, though her eyes were still guarded. "Flattery from a human is rare," she said, her voice low but steady. "Or, are you mocking me?" "Neither," I replied honestly. "I respect skill when I see it. And what you've survived, not many could endure that." Her gaze lingered on me for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, her posture relaxed. "Few humans understand endurance," she said. "Most run before they are tested." From that day, a quiet alliance formed. The other warriors laughed at me openly, calling me fragile, a joke, unworthy of standing in a Varathi training arena. Yet Selyra often intercepted their cruelty with subtle gestures, positioning herself between us, offering advice during combat drills, or silently acknowledging my strategies when others ignored me. The days grew harsher. Training on Varketh, 9 was brutal, designed to strip recruits of fear and hesitation. There were climbing exercises on sheer rock faces while storms lashed at our bodies, endurance drills in electrified water, and sparring matches that often left bruises visible for weeks. I was human, adapted to resilience, but not to the extraordinary physiology of the Varathi. I struggled. I stumbled. I failed. Every failure drew laughter from the other cadets. Every stumble seemed to reinforce their opinion that humans were weak and undeserving. But Selyra never mocked me. She watched, sometimes offering a hand to help me rise, sometimes speaking a few words of guidance that made impossible feats slightly more attainable. Weeks later, the Academy announced a survival trial, a grueling test designed to measure trust, endurance, and combat aptitude under extreme conditions. Each participant was paired with a partner, and by chance or fate, I was paired with Selyra. The trial began with a simulated attack by predator drones. They were fast, lethal, and relentless, with weapons designed to mimic real-world alien combatants. Selyra moved with uncanny precision, dodging attacks and neutralizing threats, while I improvised with technology and strategies gleaned from weeks of observation. At one point, A drone lunged toward me, its energy beams searing the air inches from my face. My reflexes failed, and I froze. Selyra shouted, "Move," and, in a blur of motion, pushed me aside and destroyed the drone in a single, precise strike. "Keep your focus," she snapped, not unkindly. "Fear will get you killed." By the trial's end, we were the only pair to complete it successfully. Exhausted, drenched, and battered, we emerged to stunned silence. Even the cadets who had once mocked me now regarded me with a mixture of astonishment and respect. Selyra, her scar glinting faintly under the artificial light, gave me a rare smile. "You are learning," she said simply. "Even humans can endure if they are willing." But the real challenge was yet to come. A warlord from the neighboring system launched a surprise attack on the Academy, attempting to capture Selyra and seize the planet's training grounds. Chaos erupted, and the cadets were thrown into disarray. I followed Selyra through the smoke and fire, improvising defensive measures with the tech I had learned to master. She relied on my skills, covering my weaknesses while I supported her in ways no one else could. Together, we coordinated attacks, rescued trapped cadets, and ultimately neutralized the threat. When the dust settled, the Academy recognized our efforts. Selyra, once shunned, now stood at the center of admiration. And I, the human who had once been a joke, had proven my worth, not through strength alone, but through courage, ingenuity, and trust. Later, as the storm cleared and the twin moons of Varketh, 9 rose over the horizon, Selyra approached me. Her scar caught the moonlight, reminding me of the journey we had endured together. "You surprised everyone," she said quietly. "Including me." I smiled, brushing the dust from my uniform. "I learned from the best," I replied. She tilted her head, her golden eyes softening. "Perhaps," she said, "but you chose to endure when no one expected it. That is rare. That is admirable." I felt the weight of her words settle in my chest. Respect had turned into something more. Trust had blossomed into partnership. And in that silent moment, I realized that the bond we had formed was stronger than any weapon, any battle, or any rank. From then on, we were inseparable. Selyra continued her training, but no longer alone, and I was no longer merely a human observer. I was her partner, her equal in both combat and strategy. Together, we faced missions across the galaxy, from hostile planets to rogue fleets, each challenge solidifying the trust and bond between us. Years later, during a ceremonial gathering of warriors and allies from multiple systems, Selyra stood beside me. For once, she did not hide her scar. It gleamed as a symbol not of misfortune, but of survival, courage, and the bond we shared. "Everyone feared the mark I bore," she said to the assembly, "and yet this human saw what I could endure and chose to stand with me." The crowd erupted into applause, but it was her gaze on me that mattered most. I nodded, understanding that in a universe filled with danger, judgment, and prejudice, the most powerful alliance was not forged by blood or species. It was forged by trust, respect, and the courage to see worth where others only saw flaws. And so, Selyra and I continued to rise, side by side, proving that even in a galaxy that feared weakness, strength could be found in compassion, partnership, and the courage to embrace those who others rejected. For her scar was no longer a mark of misfortune. It was a symbol of survival, and our bond was proof that true warriors recognize the heart above all else.